see this live, please like it up. Please say where you're from. My apologies for being late today. Very late today. I tried my very best to get here for 5 o'clock, but I had meetings one behind the other. All good stuff. All very interesting. Um, Very productive day, I would say. Uh, but it's meant that I am a little late today. Maybe we'll have some people that still want to listen, and if you don't get to watch the live, then we also will be catching up for if you don't get to watch the live, you'll also be catching up on YouTube because there will be a recording and a replay. But here I am. Here I am. And I am just trying to get to the topic today, which is the hidden costs of doing community-based conservation. And it's a good one. So I really didn't want to miss this session. I wonder how everybody else is doing. Please say in the comments where you're watching from, what your connection is to the ocean, if at all, what brings you to this chat. If anything resonates with you, please also share that with us while I just try to find the paper that I'll be talking about, this essay that I wrote a few months ago. And I'm revisiting that today because I really want to have a conversation about fair finance for ocean and climate conservation type work. And I also want to tell my story, and those for people like myself, because it's important that we document our story, that we share a story, and we do a lot of that. So the hidden costs of community-based conservation. This is the topic of our discussion today. And if you've been following up these sessions, you know that I am meeting with you every week because I want to really share with you, reflecting on some of the blogs and newsletter posts, essays that I would have written, in the not so distant past, not so long ago, that resonated with people or that I really enjoyed. But I just want to give a little bit of a deeper dive into those that you can really hear from me. I also want us to build more of a relationship where we are able to really build a more sort of meaningful communication as well. So the weird thing about having glasses is how the reflection of the screen is in your glasses. Okay. Today is a particular messy one, but bear with me. Let me see if I can make this a little better so you can start as reflective. Okay. So as you know, this session is, very impromptu. I know what topic I'm going to talk about because I've planned it at the beginning of the week, but what I haven't done is I haven't scripted any of this. It's just really at 5 o'clock, I stop whatever I'm doing and I just get ready to share with you. And that's exactly the format that I hope to continue in. Not everything needs to be pretty and perfect. Yes, if I was on a contract with one of you lovely people, I would be ensuring that things are pretty and perfect. But right now, what I have time and resource to do is just this. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. And the reflection is still there, but I can't help it. So let's go ahead. Yeah. So this essay started, The Hidden Costs of Community-Based Conservation. Your voice and example carry weight. I think it's important. Can't say it enough. It's important for us to find our voice, share our voice. And one of the ways you can find your voice is just by doing it, getting out there, putting yourself out there and speaking, sharing your story as you see fit and that is comfortable for you. So I start by saying in this essay, as many of you know, I'm deeply passionate about conservation work I do here in Montserrat and sometimes internationally. But that very passion has also been double-edged sword, leading to a tangled web of exploitation that I've been both experienced and sometimes even perpetuated myself. Gosh, that's a heavy thing to say, but it was what I was feeling at the time. And through my work with Fish and Fins Inc., the nonprofit I founded and that focuses on marine conservation and community empowerment, I've witnessed firsthand the challenges of securing adequate funding and resources to drive meaningful community-led creative projects. It's a strong battle against what researchers called it's a constant battle against what researchers call passion exploitation, where people and organizations feel entitled to ask passionate individuals like myself to work for free, assuming our love for the work should be compensation enough. Totally disagree with that. I didn't even realize that was a thing until I was reading a post by the Sri Lankan marine biologist Asha Devon, and she was speaking about passion exploitation, and and then I realized this is what I had been going through for so many years, but not being able to describe it and articulate it. Is that when folks would show up and ask for information, for my time, for skills, for knowledge, for maybe even speaking engagements that I could have actually had an honorarium for, or stipends for, or whatever it is, or paid for, then they just assume that because she's really passionate and she's really dedicated to this cause, which they can see I exude this, then we can get away with not paying. And sometimes it's not even their fault, because as we've been speaking about so often, is that in conservation science research and conservation work on the ground, um, it's often that the budget lines are so small. And sometimes people overlook that by engaging stakeholders that you actually might need to pay or compensate for the time that they would have missed by not being in their business, not being with their family, not being, in their project, or not being at work even, So that's one of the things that comes to mind as I was reflecting on that particular paragraph. I go on here to say, yet I've also been guilty of exploiting myself time and time again, telling myself that I love this work so much that I'll do anything to keep going, even if it means working for free or far below my worth. I've internalized the idea that my passion should be its own reward, leads me to clinically undervalue my creative expertise and contributions, both local and on the international stage. So I give it to my siblings so many times. Zoom on. So yeah, I've done it to myself as well at times. And not even knowing it. So I'm saying this to you, if you're an early career ocean professional, if you are running your own NGO, and you have your first youth-led project, is to remember to value your time. Remember to value your time, and remember to hear yourself. Because if you don't do that, you'll burn out as well. Hoping you to hear me. The dogs are all going mad at the moment. Um, Today is a rough one, guys, but I'm persevering. I hope you can hear me fine. I'm using an iPhone 16 Pro Max, and for some reason, it's really good at blocking out noise and focusing on the audio in front of it. So I would suggest, when doing these types of impromptu lives, and doing recordings, in the field, that an iPhone 16 Pro Max is a good option. It's done me well so far. But bear with me 1 minute. Okay. So dogs are outside. Let's get back to it. All right. So I go on to say that, but the cycle doesn't end there. I've also found myself at times having to choose between exploiting others or exploiting myself even further. When resources are scarce and funding is limited, I've had to make tough choices about who can I afford to compensate fairly. Rather than turn down opportunities or scale back projects, I've often taken the loss myself, leaving me feeling guilty and inevitably burnt out. And those I work with feeling sometimes even undervalued. Um, Although sometimes they probably haven't said that to me, but I feel it because I know for myself it's feeling of being undervalued. And I wish we had more money. I wish we had more resources to invest in our time and skill. And and that is what I'm aiming and working to constantly within my associations and collaborations, as well as in our NGO or nonprofit. But resources are scarce and funding is limited. We have a lot of work to do still in this space. In fact, just today I was having lunch with a colleague who works in science, but a different type of science. And, we were speaking about, I was sharing with her this article. I mentioned the title of it, and I told her I was doing these lives. I was saying to her about the hidden costs of doing this type of work. And she and I were commiserating, but also recognizing how much of our own personal money. I was saying to her that sometimes when um I have a client project, I would, if I have any extra money from my client project, uh, I would reinvest it either back into my nonprofit, or if it's even for training and developing a person, sending them away, or doing sort of building works on our facility, or sometimes just seeing that when I am paid fairly and compensated fairly, what that actually does for other people. Like I'm able to create a wave of opportunities for other people. And and so I no longer feel like bad or guilty about charging my true value or my true cost for my work, because I know that when you support me and when you collaborate with me, that there are like several other people that benefit from that as well. That's outside of my family. That's people in my community who may need, or jobs that are being created, or sometimes even maybe somebody in my community has had a stroke, a heart attack. Maybe they are now disabled in some way, but they like doing a certain thing, and I would make sure that I can go and purchase that thing instead of going on Amazon, or buying online or another island. I go and ask them if when they use their skill, and I pay them fairly for their time and their skill, and I will use that maybe in our facility, or maybe I gift it to our volunteers, or I gift it to our international partners. But these are some of the ways I'm constantly giving back. So at the moment, I really don't take any, all my pro bono work is invested in my community and in my nonprofit. But, I constantly am on the lookout for community, international remote work opportunities as well, because that helps me sustain as well as the people around me. But at the same time, the sort of lack of funding when it comes to recognizing the costs involved that are hidden within small islands and the communities is a challenge, and it's not sustainable for many of us, which is what myself and my friend were talking about, because she was like, I'm getting paid per month to do something with her um her her organization, but she is not able to, but she's using all of her money basically to do support other people, to ensure that they're paid fairly, being able that they get opportunities, because the budget lines are so tight in her organization. So I go on because this gets better. and I don't have much more time. And now it's very sensitive with time because I'm being so late. But the experiences I've had are disheartening and make me uncertain about the future sustainability of my work, not just here in Montreal, but in the broader regional and global context. I once explained the true cost of running our ocean club to a key partner, only to have our sober program abruptly removed from the schedule without any courtesy call. This left me feeling undervalued and dismissed, highlighting a deeper issue. When people overlook the effort and risk involved in our work, it fosters isolation and frustration, and sometimes you lose your best people. We already have enough of a brain drain in islands like these, where most of our young people, as soon as they finish their age 16 and they finish secondary school, which if you're in the US, that's like middle school or so, they go off to study in high school elsewhere. And a lot of times it's about not valuing our people, not respecting our people, not wanting to support them and keep them on the island, not being able to truly value their knowledge and contributions as well. And this extends right out into our field of work, ocean conservation on a locally based um, situation. Yeah, and that was a wild situation that happened to me actually when this this organization, trying not to call names and so on, just pulled our projects when I said, this is not, I'm covering a lot of this cost myself. I'm not even charging for myself, but we have international volunteers coming in. We have kids in the water. And there's a high demand for our program. This is when we were teaching kids to swim, snorkel, and get involved in science. And I said, it's going to cost X a month. Can we have a really good conversation around how can we work together collaboratively? Where can you really step up to support us? Because this program is obviously impactful. We have children who are clearly progressing with their seaworthiness, but they're also getting involved in science. They are, meeting world leaders, world experts in this field. At one point, we had a STEAM festival, and the oceanographer, not so ocean engineer, Gracie Young, Gracie Young, who works for Google X, came to open um, our event, and still since been an advisor on our program. And so, there's a real huge value for money in our program, Fish and Fins, but still, they were just like, it's too much money, wasn't even that much. And they didn't even have the courtesy to have a conversation with us. They just took it off the schedule altogether. That was after years of investing time, resources, risk, everything into this program. So I'm sharing all of this to really have you realize that when it comes to ocean conservation, there are hidden costs, hidden frustrations, I guess with many other organizations as well, but it's particularly acute in this field. I'm I go on to say that even when I dedicate pro bono time to my community, the lack of understanding around the breadth of my work makes it difficult for people to appreciate its true value. In a place like Montserrat, where income generation is a challenge and reliance on grant funding is high, this web of exploitation becomes even more tangled and brutal. But I know that I'm not alone in the struggle. And yeah, like I don't think people like even today I gave a guy a ride, a friend of mine I saw on the road, and he was like, I know you, I know you're in a rush. I said, yeah, I have to go up for a meeting. I was trying to get onto this live, and then I realized I had another meeting that was clashing as well because I was running so late. And he's like, yeah, I know you swim and everything. And I was like, people still think I'm just swimming with the kids. And there's at one point when I first started this, I was swimming with the kids and it was all excellent and fun. And it looks cute. It's necessary as well. But it's not what I do mostly. The work I do is deeply political, especially when it comes to justice, equity, and things like this. And really trying to advocate for fairer conditions of work, considering nonprofits and volunteers as just not charity cases and volunteer work, but as a professional skills and ensuring that people get compensated accordingly. Um, there's a lot. And at the moment, there's a lot of strategy work that goes on and things like this as well. So luckily, I have been able to delegate And I'm getting better and better at delegating a lot of this work out so I can free up my time to do work that actually pays me what I need to be able to help myself, my family, and those around me in the community that I can. But yeah, people don't really understand that. And as a result of that, it could end up in a situation where you're even more frustrated, even more burnt out, even more undervalued. So across the Caribbean and beyond, local communities are hungry to shape partnerships with international NGOs, governments, and private financiers to drive sustainable initiatives that empower people, that empower them with generations of local knowledge and creative ingenuity. God, my tongue is getting tired. And creative ingenuity. You know what I mean. At their fingertips. I've been sleeping for too long today. At their fingertips, it's vital that this expertise is embedded in conservation policies and business practices. Some lessons here are profound, not just for founders, but for all project leaders in mission-driven fields. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of passion exploitation and the importance of setting boundaries, valuing our worth, and creating organizational structures and cultures that recognize and value the true um, and reward the true value of people's contributions. In a world where there is fear around authentic leadership, your willingness to be vulnerable and to share your struggles is a gift. By shining a light on this systematic issue, you empower others to reflect on their own experiences and advocate for themselves. You model the kind of self-care and boundary setting that is essential for sustainable, impactful creative leadership. So, moreover, my story underscores the vital need for greater funding, resources, and support structures in the conservation space. When passion is the primary currency, those who can afford to subsidize their work and end up wielding disproportionate power, and this dynamic must be disrupted in order to foster true equity and inclusion. A reimagined future in conservation that is not aid or grant dependent as we contribute or continue to design a strategy forward. As you continue on your own journey of discovery and discovering your own personal worth in your field, know that your voice matters and your example carries immense weight. You are not just a leader in your field, you're a trailblazer, paving the way for more just, sustainable, and nourishing ecosystems for all who dedicate themselves to protecting our planet and its people through the power of creativity with love and solidarity. So I often joke with friends sometimes that, man, ocean science and conservation is such a leaky ship. Like, some people are working, a lot of folks are working like a full week, but only one day is paying them. Maybe even sometimes a full month and only a couple days are paying them. And at the same time, the only way that makes even a little bit of sense that we sustain to continue doing the work is realizing sometimes this leaky ship that we have a lot of really good people. And I just want us, the good people in this work, to really unite and support each other more, to set up circles, whether or not you want to make them public or private or in community, locally or internationally. Like, we have to have circles of support that we can really lead on and that understand what it means to leverage power and influence, that understands what it means to spread the wealth and to really value local people along that journey. So again, as a local person in the Caribbean doing ocean science work, community-based work, then please take it from me. I want you to put yourself out there. Like, imagine today has been a total mess for me, right? And this life, late, um, everything wasn't quite right. Dogs are barking and howling all over the place, but I'm still showing up. And it's not perfect. And I'm getting tongue tired and all of those things. I'm a little bit tired. My mouth is dry, but I'm still doing it. And I think that it doesn't need to be perfect. None of us is perfect. And um, sometimes people may even trust you more and be willing to work with you more because they see the human side. And even here sometimes in Montserrat, people will say, "Oh, Vita, you're such a genius, or you're so smart, and you're so this." And I'm not all of that. It's just that I work hard. I work maybe harder than the next person, and I try hard. And I'm committed, and I'm dedicated to the things that I love, and I'm also aligned to the integrity and values of my work. And I think that sometimes, finding that balance in terms of your success and your peace at your purpose is a very huge blessing. So despite the fact that we're in a leaky ship, I am happy to be amongst beautiful, wonderful people who are in the ship with me. And we are currently working on building a new ship altogether that doesn't have all this mess. We have systems that actually work to protect people, support people, and are holistic. And shout me up, comment, email me at vitawade.com, email me at vita@vitawade.com, and let's talk. I'd love to work with you. Okay? Until next time. Bye.